Hello, welcome to Career Success Strategies Online, Lesson 8, Part 5, Other Sensitive Interview Questions. Let's begin. We're going to cover a few things during this lesson. There are sensitive questions that are outside of questions about your background. For example, if you have gaps in your resume, sometimes those gaps are for reasons that you may not be comfortable sharing. Or what if you don't have a lot of work experience, or even better than that, maybe you have no work experience, no professional work experience, that is. And what about experience that you gained while you were incarcerated? So these questions can bring about a certain level of anxiety. But just like in the previous lesson, we're going to give you some tips on how to best answer those questions with the hope that it will give you the confidence you need to go through these questions in a calm, professional manner. Now, one of the things we're going to be doing is normalizing some of this stuff. So, let's say you have been unemployed for a period of time. Well, many people have been unemployed. And having a gap in your resume due to unemployment is not something that's unheard of. So, how do we address that particular issue? Well, 90% of people have been unemployed at some point during their career. I didn't realize the percentage was that high. We're going to watch this brief video, and it discusses how you should speak about employment gaps. Take out the pen, take out the pad, keep your hand on the pause button just in case you need some time to process the information that we're sharing with you. Okay, let's start.
Hey, my name is Leslie, and I'm a recruiter at Indeed. If you have a gap in your employment history, know that you're not alone. About 90% of people have been unemployed at some point during their career. So how should you explain a gap in your employment history during an interview? You can customize your answer based on your situation and how you spent the time you weren't employed. Be truthful without getting into unnecessary detail. Tell them why you were unemployed, what you did during that gap, and that you're now ready to return to work. For example, you might say,
I was able to take some time off work to focus on myself. It was a time that prepared me for new challenges, and I'm excited about the opportunities ahead.
you don't need to go into detail about what caused your employment gap, but you should give specifics on how you spent that time. Mention anything you've read to keep up on the industry or what you've done to prepare for your reentry. Bring up any freelance work, volunteer, or community positions you've held, or even classes or past events you've attended. The goal is to convey that you've been engaged even if you haven't been formally employed. And once you've addressed your gap, bring it back to your skills and interests in the job. That's what employers really care about. You're going to do great.
Well, that was a really informative video. Let's drill down a little bit on what we just finished watching. So, the first suggestion: give general explanation of why you weren't working. Now, notice general, focusing on myself, caring for a sick family member. In this situation, you don't really have to go into a lot of detail. Where you want to go into detail is when you're filling in the gaps of some of the things you may have done during that time. If you took a class, an online class, a class in your local library, if you've completed some kind of a program, if you were managing your family's finances, think about the things that you did during that span of time that were constructive, that show that you were staying active and staying engaged. And though you were not formally employed, you were still working, sharpening your skills. Show that whatever the situation was, whether you were focusing on yourself or caring for a family member, that situation is no longer a factor, that you are ready, willing, and able to work. And then bring it right back to your interest in this position. Sounds like a great plan to me. What about having little or no work experience. Well, everyone has to start somewhere. You're not born with work experience. Let's see if there are any tips or pointers we can give you for dealing with that question. Ha! We have another video. It can feel overwhelming when you're looking for a job and you see all of these tasks that you have no experience doing. Don't let it get you down. You may have more experience than you realize. Let's watch this video and see what we can learn.
If you've looked for an entry-level job recently, you've probably run into this frustrating problem. A job listing is labeled as entry-level, but it also requires having several years of experience. So how are you supposed to get that experience if you can't get an entry-level job? This is often referred to as the entry-level catch-22. It's a fairly common issue, but luckily there are a number of steps you can take to work around it. At first glance, it might seem like you don't have all of the experience or skills required by a job listing. However, you may want to take a second look. It might seem like many of these qualifications are set in stone, but employers are sometimes more flexible with them than you might think. You can also use your cover letter to emphasize the skills and experience you do have and how they relate to specific areas of the job listing. But before you apply, ask yourself, would I be able to perform this job? Read over the job description and see if you'd be capable of performing its daily functions. If it sounds too complex or it requires technical skills that you don't have, you probably shouldn't apply for it. But what if you meet some of the requirements but not all of them? In this case, think if you have any transferable skills, which are skills that you've previously gained that can be applied to this new field. For example, if you've held a job as a cashier where you helped customers and handled a cash register, those could be distilled to building customer relationships, managing money, and listening. Once you've identified these transferable skills, your cover letter is the perfect place to explain them and connect them to the job listing. The entry-level catch-22 can feel discouraging, and it's sometimes pretty unfair. The important thing is to stay positive and keep applying to jobs. Good luck!
Excellent
Goodwill
video.
Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
Okay. Let's look a little more closely into this question. So, what were some of the suggestions? First of all, be honest, not just with the employer, but be honest with yourself. Do you have the experience you need, the basic experience you need? And if you lie about it, it's going to come out when you actually start the job. But can you do this job? Or will it be an insurmountable mountain to climb? Well, that's a question that you can ask and answer yourself. Now, talk about transferable skills and life experiences. Like I said earlier, you have a lot more experience than you may think. So if you've been taking care of your own personal budget and finances, taking care of bills, taking care of a mortgage or what have you, those are transferable skills. Those are skills that you can use in a different capacity for the job that you're looking for. Your life experience, your transferable skills may put you in a strong position to be able to speak to the needs and the requirements of this particular position. And though it may not be a direct link to experience or the experience they're asking for, you can use your cover letter, but also be prepared during the interview to talk about how those skills have prepared you for the requirements for the position you're looking for. Now, think about what makes you stand out. Think about what it is about you that will set you apart from the other people you would be working with. Even more so, how will the things that make you stand out enhance or promote or strengthen the organization or the company that you're interviewing for. See, you may not have all of the experience they're looking for, but there may be something about you that they can identify that would make them say, you know what? This is someone that we really need as part of our team. But we don't want to leave it up to them to identify it. You need to identify it and promote it. Make sure that's part of your presentation when you're dealing with this question. Prepare your answers beforehand. So important. Don't wait until you get to the interview and then hope that they don't ask you about your experience. Prepare and expect that they will ask you about your experience. And so this is why we're talking about this. Be honest. Start lining up those transferable skills. Look at the job description. Look at your life experience. See where certain things line up. And then think about traits or characteristics that you have that would help you to stand out and help you to shine in this particular environment. Now, if you have little or no work experience, usually that means you have little or no formal work experience. But what about informal experience? What if you worked as a volunteer? You worked for a church or for a nonprofit organization, or you volunteered for a brother or sister in their office doing reception work. See, maybe it's not something that you can actually put on your resume, but if you actually have had the experience and done the work, it's something that you can speak about. Experience is always valuable. It's up to you to make the connections and to bring that experience out. You know, that even counts when we're talking about incarceration. A lot of you may think that your time being incarcerated is time that you can find absolutely no redeeming value in. That's not true. If you worked for a period of time, that experience is valuable. It speaks to your ability to maintain consistent work and to maintain consistent work under less than ideal situations. You're performing tasks while under pressure. You're having to work with different and at times difficult people. There were so many different types of supervisory engagements that you are in contact with. So you can speak to a lot in terms of your professionalism, your ability to accomplish tasks, your ability to work with difficult personalities. All of that can come out of experience you gained while you were working and incarcerated. Think about it that way. Now, if you're going to add experience that you've gained during incarceration to your resume, you need to be prepared to talk about the fact that you were incarcerated. That may come up when they ask you to expound on the experience or where you gained the experience. That's an issue that you may need to be prepared to discuss. We discussed a lot of this in our previous lesson, so you can always refer back to that. But if it's something that you really feel like, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be comfortable discussing my incarceration, then you're going to want to take that experience off of your resume. It can be a difficult decision. My suggestion is that you speak with one of your career developers. We'll help you weigh the pros and the cons to find out if the experience outweighs the potential of having to disclose. Um, Between the two of us, we'll come up with a really good plan. But what's most important is that you recognize that that experience is valuable experience. Well, I am so sorry to see you go, but we have concluded this lesson. Don't leave too quickly. I need you to go to Google Classroom into the classwork section and look at Lesson 8, Part 5, Assessment, Other Sensitive Interview Questions. Once you've completed that, you are free to go. Enjoy the rest of your day.